We have a lot to discuss on this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. All hell continues to break loose in Minnesota, and specifically Minneapolis and St. Paul, where the Trump regime has surged an additional 1,000 ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo to invade those cities. The cities are fighting back right now. They have filed a federal lawsuit, and they are calling what is taking place, by its correct characterization, an invasion. I mean, pretty powerful to have the state of Minnesota joined by the Twin Cities saying we are being invaded right now by the Trump regime. They're claiming it's for law enforcement or fraud, but it is to literally take over by force the cities and bring it to its knees. The people there are peacefully protesting, and we've been working with our partners over at Status Coup to get you on the ground reporting exclusive footage documenting what look like war crimes, which is an invasion because they are crimes against humanity taking place on the streets of Minneapolis and St. Paul. We'll cover that here on this episode. Donald Trump continues to threaten to invade Greenland. Apparently, according to multiple sources that spoke to the Daily Mail and other outlets, the Trump regime has ordered special forces to come up with an invasion plan. And now in response, you have the UK, Germany, France, and others in Europe coming up with war plans to counter a United States invasion of Greenland, which would just rip apart NATO. We should also talk about what's going on in Venezuela and the chaos taking place there. No, there aren't opposition parties celebrating on the streets. There's a vicious and brutal crackdown taking place by the authoritarian leader there, Delcy Rodriguez, who's just an extension of the Maduro regime, along with Diosdado Cabello, the enforcer of Maduro. And they're out there with their roving gangs, which in Venezuela is referred to as the colectivos, stopping people, searching their phones. And if there's any pro-America or pro-opposition content, these people are getting tortured or killed and disappeared. And it's just fascinating is not the right word, but that, this Gestapo paramilitary force in Venezuela is an arm of the authoritarian regime, the way the paramilitary ICE and Border Patrol are similar paramilitary of the authoritarian regime we have here. So we'll talk about Greenland, we'll talk about Venezuela, we'll talk about Donald Trump ordering the Department of Justice to engage in a criminal investigation of the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. We've actually seen a number of Republican senators like Tom Tillis, Murkowski, and others issue statements. They're very upset. They're very upset about this. But to be fair, the statement by Tom Tillis, the Republican senator from North Carolina, he states that he's going to be putting a hold and blocking any of Trump's picks for the Federal Reserve Board of Governors or Trump's pick of Fed chair unless this is resolved, Trump's weaponized attack on Jerome Powell. And Powell issued an unprecedented video response saying that he's being targeted because he is going by the data about whether or not to reduce interest rates or not, and that Trump has stated his intention to retaliate against him, and that Trump wants there to be a Fed that's not independent. And the words from Powell, as well as a statement that came from most of the other chairs of the Federal Reserve, top board of governors, and former Treasury secretaries from both parties, Republican and Democrats, they compared what's taking place in the United States to what you see in corrupt, developing authoritarian nations where there is no independence over their central bank. So we're going to talk about all of this and more in this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. We've got a lot to discuss. And, Brett and Jordy, one observation, though, stands out to me amongst many, though, also. I think as we reflect on this time, whether it's the markets, whether it's, other leaders, thinking that you can appease this guy and that, his words don't matter and that he's not serious and this is how he trolls, or, this is, we'll get through it. And what am I supposed to do? kind of either outright support, complicity, or just not taking it seriously. He threatened Jerome Powell, but he'll taco again. Trump chickens out. And so we just have to wait for it to pull back. And it's really just an opportunity to manipulate the markets. And so it'll go down, but then it'll go back up. And, we are directionally moving in the wrong direction, and our institutions have so brutally failed. Fortunately, the people are standing up, as we see in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and across this country. But just an observation I wanted to make at the outset.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you, brothers. Good to see you, Midas Mighty. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether you're watching live on YouTube or whether you're listening on the MeidasTouch Podcast on the various audio feeds. Man, I just got to say, especially after this weekend, I should say, I am just so disgusted by the state of our country. And obviously, I think we've all felt that way now for the past year or so. But this weekend certainly felt like yet another escalation, yet another step towards autocracy. The only reason I say a step towards autocracy and not that we're in a full-blown autocracy is that for the time being, we still have elections, and I'm counting on those elections actually happening. And I think they are going to be the most important elections, and I want to make sure everybody gets out there and that you do your civic duty and you get out there and vote. But it is certainly a very concerning trajectory, to put it mildly. We've been tracking what this regime has been doing now for the past year. We were warning about it during the Trump campaign, and I remember just everybody saying, "Oh, you're being hyperbolic. Why are you comparing Donald Trump's words to Hitler's words? Isn't that inappropriate?" No, it's not. And we see where Donald Trump right now is taking this country. We see these masked rogue agents, just these thugs being unleashed on our streets, these paramilitary forces that are being used against the American people, against United States citizens. I am horrified right now at what I'm seeing, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I am looking forward to covering it all and exposing it here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. So to that regard, I'm going to pass it off to Jordy. Jordy, how you doing?
I'm doing as well as anybody could be doing right now, I guess. What's up, brothers? What's up, Midas Mighty? I'm glad to be here. Quick note, hit subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already. Some people think you're subscribed, but you're not. We are so close to 6 million subscribers on the YouTube, so hit that subscribe button. Look, I just want to start off with this in today's episode, Ben, before I send it back to you. I just want to give a shout out, man, to all of the peaceful protesters in Minneapolis and, quite frankly, everyone who is everywhere taking to the streets in response to the murder of Renee Good, at the hands of those fucking ICE agents, man. But we have just got to get back to a sense of a shared humanity in this world. And what the protesters taking to the streets are showing is that they are going to have their voices heard no matter what. That what this Trump regime is doing is wrong, to put it lightly. And that we, the people, are not going to be intimidated or back down from bullies. And that's exactly what this regime is. They are a bunch of bullies. I think the theme of this episode actually is going to be not backing down from bullies, whether it's Jerome Powell or Mark Kelly or we, the people. We do not back down from bullies. Ben, what say you?
It's important that we document what's happening. And it's also important that we take action. But often I hear people say, well, what else are you going to do than just report on it and document it? And I say that is an important function. And then we also have to provide a platform and uplift the incredible voices and community organizations and leaders who are actually fighting for we, the people, who are fighting for you. Now, one of the things that was very important for us to build out at the MeidasTouch Network that I think you're seeing us implement a very meticulous plan that we've had. And for those on our Substack, MeidasPlus.com, I've been talking about this plan for some time. Last year was about launching internationally Meidas Canada and further increasing our infrastructure. At the beginning of this year, we wanted to make sure we had a reporter on Capitol Hill asking the politicians the questions that you want answered. Specifically, Pablo Manriquez is now working with the MeidasTouch Network. He's doing an incredible job. And the question that he's been asking politicians, which I believe is a clear line of how we need to hold Democratic politicians accountable and anybody in general, is do they support more funding for ICE? And if they support more funding for ICE, I think that's an immediate disqualification to run for the presidency of the United States, to run in a primaries, to run in general at this point. You can't fund this terroristic organization. You can't. They are a rogue paramilitary force under the direction of an authoritarian leader. So Pablo has been out there asking that question to everybody from both parties so you can hear the answer. And that's not a question that's really being covered in any other outlet. And by the way, Pablo's there asking a lot of other questions about the Epstein file cover-up and everything that you want answered as well. And then separately, we've developed a partnership with an organization called Status Coup. And it's been so important for us to uplift them, to try to get them 1 million subscribers, because they have on-the-ground reporting in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and they've been going around city to city where ICE has been making its surges. So whether it's the surge in Charlotte's Web was that operation, the Midway Blitz in Chicago, the attacks on Los Angeles, the attacks on Portland, and throughout the country, the folks at Status Coup have been in all of these locations. And when you watch it, it is like a wartime reporter covering an invasion. The reporters from Status Coup, they've been attacked with pepper balls, chemical agents, flash grenades. They've been hit like on live coverage, and you see them getting attacked as the ICE Gestapo attacks peaceful protesters. The protesters aren't escalating. The ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo are. And now we're out there documenting that. And we have that with the Status Coup, the MeidasTouch Status Coup partnership to bring you. We do lives where we show you 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. We work with Status Coup to get you reporters on the ground. And then I like to do recaps the next day that break it down in about 15 to 25-minute clips to document for you what's really taking place. I just wanted to emphasize the importance of documenting what's taking place so that the propaganda that is being spread by this regime is met with the actual receipts of what's taking place. Because this regime uses the Nazi propaganda. This regime uses the Putin propaganda. They weaponize things that would certainly pull at your heart. Like, oh, what we're really trying to do with ICE, what we're really trying to do with Border Patrol, it's not just stopping the Somali fraud. They create that boogeyman, but that boogeyman ain't working anymore, they realize. So what do they go back to? Sex trafficking. And that's what the Trump regime was saying this weekend. Kristi Noem over the weekend, Caroline Levitt earlier today. The regime sends its propagandists out and they say, why would you be against our ICE officers? The reasons that there's so many of them out there is we're stopping the sex traffickers. So are you pro-sex trafficker? This is how the MAGAs weaponize the Epstein files against their political opponents. And it's not unique to MAGA. This is an authoritarian playbook tactic. We see it used by Orban in Hungary. And guess what? Orban's regime in Budapest at their prison for children turned it into a child sex trafficking ring there. And there were lots of protests saying the regime is the one covering up the child sex trafficking going on within its prison system for children. But they came out, Orban, with the same rhetoric, the same playbook, anti-immigration, and they're going to be the ones to save the country from the child sex traffickers. And the playbook worked for the authoritarian because they're such sociopaths that there's no low to what their lies will be about. And it's often covering up what they themselves are engaged in. And they know to most human beings, those words resonate and are convincing because it's like, oh my God, you're here to save that. And people are against you stopping sex trafficking. Oh my gosh. And then you on the other side have to argue against their sociopathic, demented argument, which is something that they're not doing. And it's hard to argue against a negative, and they take it on such an extreme level that you're left stuttering in a debate. And so when you set up these debates, whether it's the debates that these right-wing podcasters want to do on the fight shows that they do on CNN, the construct of the debate always lends itself to the sociopathic authoritarian because they're spewing lies versus you on the other side having to show the truth. And then the viewers left going, I don't know, one side wants to stop the sex trafficking and the other side's arguing that they're not doing it. Do you see why and all the while they cover up the largest child sex trafficking ring in world history with the Epstein files, which is what's going on right now. So I want you to take a look at what happened this weekend. And we've analyzed what's going on in Minneapolis, in St. Paul, and throughout the country. I wanted to focus, though, on this aspect of it because it's underreported and understated, the regime's psychological warfare backed by billions, tens of billions to brainwash with this stuff. So here's Kristi Noem, a propagandist. She was on the weekend show. She goes on regime media to roll this out. And she's like, why would anybody be against us stopping the sex trafficking? Watch Noem play the clip.
Maria, we've surged HSI officers there specific to focus on sex trafficking and child trafficking. It's so prevalent in Minnesota. It's horrific. And we brought dozens and dozens of those individuals to justice already. We're going to keep hundreds of HSI officers there to continue to protect those children. Every day we get another individual that was sexual assault against a child, sodomy against a child. I can't believe that the mayor and the governor can defend allowing those people to go out there and victimize more of our children and grandchildren.
Sick. I wanted to frame for you. I know you know how sick and vile and despicable that lady is. Sick. But I want you to know it's even sicker than you think, that's where she takes it to. When we know that first they were going after the Somalis, and what they really want to do is invade and take over the city. So they use that. They go there. And then Caroline Levitt, there's no bottom to these evil, evil humans. And here's what Caroline Levitt says. And she again says, what, if you don't support ICE, you support the pedos while they cover up the sex trafficking ring. Play this clip.
The left. And I think that it just shows you where the modern day Democrat Party stands today in protecting illegal alien pedophiles and rapists and murderers over law-abiding American citizens and our brave men and women who serve in law enforcement.
Then she walks away. She leaves that there. That's where the Democratic Party stands today. And our media that exists in sound bites, that doesn't show you 5-6 hours straight of what's actually happening on the ground, that doesn't center their reporting in the people who are being victimized, but they center it in the propagandists who are manipulating and doing the victimizing. You don't get that. And so let me just show you this, then I'm going to toss it over to Brett and Jordy. Then you had Donald Trump flying back from Air Force One. And for Trump, he said, at a bare minimum, we can all agree that Renee Nicole Good was disrespectful. How could you be disrespectful to law enforcement? So, of course, if you disrespect ICE, which, by the way, aren't law enforcement, as I said, they're paramilitary, this is what happens. This is the natural consequence. Let's play the clip of Trump.
At a very minimum, that woman was very, very disrespectful to law enforcement. And you heard the same noises. You saw the same crunch that I saw. You can't do that with law enforcement, whether it's police or ICE or Border Patrol or anybody else.
When it comes to ICE officials, no.
For those listening, you have Caroline Levitt standing behind Trump, looking all weird and creepy herself. And then at one point, I'm not going to play this clip, Trump's like, I'm here. I may need to grab something, but I can't grab Caroline, right? You'll be mad at me if I grab her. So Brett and Jordy, there's obviously so much more we can be saying on this episode about the cold-blooded murder, because that's what it is, of Renee Nicole Good. But I think it's important that I open up that window to the psychological manipulation that's used and has been used in order to justify the atrocities.
Yeah, I think it's an important connection to make. And I'd go as far as to say that, of course, not only is this not about sex trafficking, I don't even believe this is about immigration or illegal immigration at all. I think this is about putting an illegal secret police force, masked police, and I don't even want to call them police. They're just these thugs, these paramilitary forces, these enforcers of the Trump regime, putting these masked secret forces on the streets in order to terrorize the population and build a fascist state. That's what I think it is. And I think everything else is just a pretense for doing just that. And like I said earlier in this episode, I am just like so incredibly appalled watching all of this. And, you know, I'm just trying to think of like what other kind of comparisons to make, but I just keep coming back to the fact that I really think these people right now are just behaving as Nazis. They are following the Nazi playbook. I am very much aware that comparing an individual or group to Nazis should not be something you do lightly, but in situations like this, you have to be able to sound the alarm when you see people following along this path. Like, if you, what's the point of studying history if not to call out moments like this? I'm not sure if you guys saw, but there's this GoFundMe for the ICE officer that's going around that people are donating to, which is like disgusting enough in and of itself. But within that GoFundMe, for whatever reason, it makes a point to note that the mayor of Minneapolis, it says in parentheses after his name, who is Jewish. It says that in the GoFundMe for the ICE agent who murdered Renee Good in one of the GoFundMes. And then if you look at the other GoFundMe, because there are two currently set up right now that are raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for this killer. The other GoFundMe, which I believe Bill Ackman, that billionaire guy, Trump supporter, that he donated to, like $10,000 to, the profile photo of the person who made that GoFundMe is literally a Sieg Heil. So like they're not exactly trying to hide it right now. Then you look at what's coming out of the government accounts, the government Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts. It's some of the most appalling Nazi propaganda that you will ever see. They did a post the other day, Ben, I know you covered this on one of your hits. It said, one people, one empire, one leader, I believe was the phrase they used, which is a total ripoff from the Hitler Nazi phrase, one homeland, one people, one heritage, ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer. They are ripping Nazi phrases and Nazi imagery, and they are using it for U.S. government propaganda in order to push forward all of these heinous actions. They're making posts on their social media that are exactly 14 words. 14 words is a nod to white nationalists and Nazis. They have a 14-word phrase about something to do with securing the existence of white people in the world or in the United States or something. And they are using 14 words exactly in their posts as a nod to them. They're capitalizing the HH in their posts as a nod to Hail Hitler. You have the secret police terrorizing the population. You have people being sent off to camps in different countries. You have Trump, who continues to consolidate the power of the executive, putting his name on buildings, putting his photo on buildings, using the government to continue to attack his political opponents or anybody who does not bend to his will. You have Elon Musk, who is retweeting calls for remigration. That's this notion. It's a white nationalist idea, a neo-Nazi idea that you can take away the citizenship of any Americans who are not white and send people back to the countries that they originated from when they immigrated here back in the day. And the person who Elon Musk retweeted specified, and by remigration, I specifically also mean the Jews. I want to be clear about that. So when you take all of this together, like what other conclusion can you possibly come to other than that this is a regime right now that wants an autocracy in this country, that is behaving as if they will never leave power and wants to take the lessons that they learned from the Nazis and apply them here in the United States and use the same scapegoating tactics, tactics, use all the same tactics that they used in order to consolidate power. I think it is absolutely chilling. And that's why the use of our First Amendment, the use of our voices, getting those cameras on the ground, getting our cameras in the halls of Congress, actually videotaping what ICE is doing as they terrorize these communities, as they throw flashbangs at our reporters who are down there with Status Coup. We need to be documenting all of this right now. It's perhaps one of the most, if not the most important thing that we could all be doing at this moment. They are telling us exactly who they are at this moment in time. If you don't believe it, I don't know what to tell you, but we're going to keep providing evidence of it here. And I think we also need to continue to call out, like we are on this show, like you all are out there, call out all of the collaborators, call out all the corporate media who is bending the knee to this regime, like the CBS Newses and the Barry Weisses, call out all the people around Donald Trump, like the Caroline Levitts and the Kristi Noem and all of these tech people who are getting behind this movement. Call them all out. Don't let them get away with this crap. They are a part of it. They are responsible, and they should always be held responsible, and they should always have the stain of what they did to prop up this administration, and they should never be able to get rid of it long after this is gone.
So well said, B. And Ben, you did a great job too summarizing it. I don't have much to add other than I just want to add this. Noam, Levitt, Trump is a word I've been using recently to describe this regime. They're creatures. I don't see the human element in them in the sense that, like, where's the love? Where is the love for your fellow American when you see these folks speaking? It's never there. If they can't condemn the murder of a mother of three, where are we as a society? Like, why do we have leaders if they don't want to lead? And let me rephrase that. Why do these leaders right now, rhetorical question, want to lead in this specific way? How can you not condemn at the highest and the loudest way the murder of a mother of three? Everyone saw the footage. Everyone has seen it, multiple angles, multiple times now. You see Donald Trump raving like a lunatic up there, talking about, when you hear the crunch. I don't even know what he's saying. But if you just can't put your politics, I guess, aside and say, that's a real tragic thing that just happened, that those kids are going to bed tonight now and forever without a mother, that you can't just say that. It is so damning to an entire political party because, as we've said before, this MAGA ilk, if you will, they all then just pivot. They spit out the Trump talking points. They talk about this crunch that they hear, and it's just like, are you insane? Like, are you mad that you as a person can't feel for your fellow person in a way? That woman is dead, gone forever. And you can't say that's a bad, to me, honestly, it is so disqualifying for an entire political party that they can't outwardly with their whole chest just say how horrific that was. It's crazy to me. It really is.
Let me give you an ominous timeline, but also one that should instill a little bit of hope, given that the people of the United States has not allowed Donald Trump to fully seize control of all aspects of our government. Hitler came to power January 30th of 1933 after being appointed to the position by the German president, Paul von Hindenburg, as part of a coalition government. And then if you go through what they did there, they had their own Project 2025. It's called their Enabling Act, gave Hitler's cabinet power to enact laws without the Reichstag approval, which eventually led to a dictatorship. What do you think Trump wants to do when he basically has MAGA Mike shut down Congress for huge periods of time? And the Project 2025 agenda, full control, coordination, synchronization, Gleichschaltung is what they called it in Germany, a broader policy to bring all aspects of German society under Nazi control, whether that was in the first 50 days or 100 days. There's different political scientists view the timeline a little bit different, but within 50 days or 100 days from January 30th, 1933, Hitler controlled everything. And you'll recall the Reichstag fire decree, which suspended civil liberties, free speech, assembly, following the fire, creating fear, allowing for mass arrests. Same playbook, right? I mean, the Somalis, the fraud, the smelt fish, he's stealing the water from you, in California. I mean, all of the things that they're the ones aiding the sex traffickers. Then you had the Malicious Practices Act, March 21st of 1933, that criminalized criticism or mockery of the government. Does that sound familiar to you? And so you look at these things and you're like, it's the same authoritarian playbook, because authoritarians historically have had a playbook. As I said on a past episode, you can say that Orwell was so prophetic in writing 1984 that he saw the future. Sure. But he also was a student of the past, because there's thousands of years of history of authoritarians, malignant narcissists, totalitarians who behave certain ways and do things that have different names, but ultimately it's about total control and domination for the sake of domination. Greenland for Trump isn't about safety and security. The same way going into Minnesota is not about stopping sex trafficking or Somali fraud. It's about domination and control. It's about Trump being a predator. And by the way, there are MAGA Republican Congress members who say they're predators. They're predators. They just want to control it. They want to own it. He's got to have it. He sees it on a map. He looks at it. It looks so big. It needs to be mine. Same thing with Canada. Same thing with Mexico. Why isn't all of this mine? That's what they're looking for. So while I said ominous timeline, Trump's frustrated because he hasn't achieved it yet. He thought with Elon Musk's money, with Project 2025, that they would achieve it in that first year. That's what they were hoping to do. They failed. The system of federalism and states' rights actually worked. It was the only safeguard in addition to the people, because the country was too big and there were too many blue states that pushed back against the Trump regime's initial assaults. Trump saw the National Guard. I thought that was going to work out better. That didn't work out better. Let me surge my own paramilitary now. And he wants Minneapolis to be the starting point of a conquest, of an invasion, which is why in the lawsuit filed by Minnesota, Minneapolis, and St. Paul, they say this is a violation of our 10th Amendment right, which reserves all powers that are not expressly given to the federal government to the states. States have a local police power. States are the ones who are responsible for the education and for hospitals and public health and safety. And so by surging ICE and invading, now our police officers have to deal with ICE. Our police officers can't focus on law and order on the streets. Our hospitals are not functioning properly because you're attacking our hospitals. People aren't showing up to school or work because you're terrorizing the communities. You're infringing on our 10th Amendment rights. So that was the lawsuit that was filed earlier today by Minnesota, Minneapolis, and St. Paul. I did a video on it earlier, but I wanted to make sure we fully covered what's happening there, what the broader intentions are, and that we use the right words when framing this. Trump is frustrated and he's desperate because the people haven't bent. And also, if you look in places even like Texas, Trump has a net negative of like 6 and negative 12 when it comes to his handling of the economy and negative 22 when it comes to his handling of inflation. I did a recent interview with Amy Acton in Ohio. Trump's also net negative 6, net negative 7 over there in Ohio. People don't like this stuff. Remember the don't tread on me? Trump is Mr. I tread. He is, I am the treader. I am the destroyer. That's who he is. He is the snake. You know how there's the snake on the don't tread on me? Trump is the snake that doesn't defend. Trump is the snake that you let in, who then destroys. Like that story he told was the first MeidasTouch video we did. All right, let's take our first break of the show. We covered a lot on that segment. A reminder, go to MeidasPlus.com, check it out. that's our Substack. That's one of the ways you can help. Buy memberships on this YouTube. Become a member of our YouTube, and you can gift memberships to as many people as you can. You see our growth. That's made possible by you. You can see the expansion. Thank you for that. So become a member, subscribe to the Substack, and we will be right back after our first quick break.
You know, every new year we say that we're finally going to launch that thing we've been dreaming about, the idea that's been sitting in our notes app, the skill everyone keeps telling us to turn into a business. But the truth is, taking action is what changes everything. January is short. Don't let February show up with the same old story. If 2026 is the year that you rewrite your future, the most powerful move that you could make is to start your business with Shopify. 2026 is the year that you launch your business, the year you transform into an entrepreneur, founder, boss. One powerful move puts your future firmly in your hands. Starting a business with Shopify. Maybe you've got an idea that you can't shake, a craft everyone tells you to sell, a store you've already designed in your head. Well, with Shopify, 2026 is when you finally make it happen. Shopify gives you everything you need to sell online and in person. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made this leap, from household names to first-time business owners just getting started. Shopify gives you all the tools to easily build your dream store. Choose from hundreds of beautiful templates that you can customize to match your brand. Setup is fast with Shopify's built-in AI tools that write product descriptions and headlines and help you edit product photos. Marketing is built in too. Create email and social campaigns that reach customers wherever they scroll. And as you grow, Shopify grows with you. Handle more orders, expand to new markets, and do it all from the same dashboard. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Meidas. Go to shopify.com/Meidas. That's shopify.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. Hear your first this new year with Shopify by your side.
All right, lately I've been trying to get my mornings together. Not perfectly, just better. Less chaos, less jittery energy, and more of that locked-in feeling that makes the day feel doable. That's where Mudwater comes in. Their original blend is a coffee alternative made with cacao, chai, turmeric, and functional mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi. You get a warm, focused boost without that wired buzz or midday crash that usually tags along with a regular cup of coffee. And if you're still craving that true taste of coffee, well, you're in luck, because they actually just launched a low-calf coffee made with organic Arabica, Swiss water decaf, L-theanine, and the same functional mushrooms you get in their other blends. It's rich, smooth, and only 45 milligrams of caffeine, so you get the flavor you love without the jitters, crash, or spiraling thoughts. So whether you're mixing up the original blend or easing it to something gentler than your usual brew, Mudwater makes it ridiculously easy to start the day feeling good. And now you can grab it at Target and Sprouts nationwide, making better mornings easier than ever. Every single ingredient in Mudwater's products are 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. There's also zero sugar and no sweeteners added. Each ingredient in Mudwater serves a purpose, with organic ingredients for a clean, natural boost. Mudwater's smooth, earthy flavors provide a delicious and natural source of energy. Their OG blend contains cacao and chai for a hint of caffeine and hot chocolate-like flavor, lion's mane for focus, cordyceps to promote natural energy, and both chaga and reishi to support a healthy immune system. And by the way, there's also caffeine-free blends available. The best part about Mudwater is it provides sustained energy without the spikes and crash of traditional coffee. Ready to make the switch to cleaner energy? Head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off your entire order, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code Meidas. That's right, up to 43% off with code Meidas at MUDWTR.com. After your purchase, they'll ask how you found them. Please support our show and let them know MeidasTouch sent you. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. A couple things really quick, just on a lighter note. No, that was a heavy first segment there. The Shopify ad that you heard there. I spoke to them. They said, hey, as much as I loved Ben doing the boom, 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 can we actually add in the correct SFX, the correct sound cues there? And so
you see the pause for sound effects, Ben? You see how that works?
Really good. They're going to be like really impressed. Second, Benji, you look pretty sharp, dude. You take a straight razor to your face. You look really good, really cleaned up, nice haircut. What happened?
Cleaned up, fresh.
Yeah, why so fresh?
First day back teaching.
Hey, Professor Ben.
Back to the professorship. And so
I was just thinking, so much growth in the past year, and you haven't taught since last year because you had a baby. I feel like a lot of our audience doesn't even realize that you are a law professor. And so welcome back to teaching, Ben. How does it feel?
You didn't have enough going on in your life, Ben. You're also you're also somehow a professor. Congratulations.
Well, I really enjoy teaching. I think it's now that I no longer practice law on a day-to-day basis, I still want to, in addition to YouTube, give back to the legal community in Southern Los Angeles and Southern California in general. And so it's a way to do that. And I think also interacting with the kind of next generation, you get a lot of ideas too, and it's inspirational. And so it's an important part of my life, and I take it very seriously. And I really enjoy being a teacher, both on YouTube and in an academic way. So people ask me, I told the class today, when people say, what are my hobbies? This is my hobby. So I hope you enjoy this class, because I'm doing it because I want to be able to give back. Speaking of speaking up though, and using your voice, I've been heartened. I've been happy to see more people in public starting to speak out against what's happening. And it was disheartening to see a lot of the silence throughout last year. The class I teach is sports law, and I represented Colin Kaepernick back in 2017, 2018, back in Huntsville, when Donald Trump said, get that son of a bitch off the field, and Colin never played a down of football again. There was a lot more vocal aspects from athletes and celebrities and people in positions of public light. And I think that you have so much people right now in public who have a platform to speak out against this regime who don't. And frankly, that's complicity. And they don't, whether it's because they think that because they're wealthy, that they make more money under authoritarianism, that they don't want to potentially divide their fan base if they take a political position, or they like it, or they're afraid, any of those. But to me, you have a responsibility to speak out against injustice, because this stuff isn't political. It's not like you're out there saying, you know what? I really don't like the fiscal policy right now coming out of the Republicans in Congress. It's very, it's very reckless the way they're spending, and federal spending significantly. By the way, all true. They're reckless. Federal spending's higher. It's up. The deficit's increasing. The debt is skyrocketing right now. Trump wants a $1.5 trillion military budget. He wants hundreds of billions of more dollars going to the ICE Gestapo. Horrible. But we're talking about basic humanity. Are you okay with the government sending militarized, unaccountable forces into our cities, killing people, disappearing people, terrorizing communities? Like, are you okay with the regime that's out there constantly, without getting congressional authority, threatening wars or getting into wars? Are you okay with someone who said he would end the war in Ukraine caused by Russia on day one, and takes Russia's side essentially in the dispute, based on what I've observed, in my opinion? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with not using your voice right now to speak out about the atrocities happening in Gaza? You're just going to be silent about it? I think we all have to use our platforms. And by the way, you can be late to it. Like you could be late to it just because you didn't use your platform the right way before. Okay. Use your platform and use your voice. It's never too late until it's too late for you to use your platform and your voice to speak out against injustice. And we saw that at the Golden Globes, more people starting to speak out, right? And I also like to see how some of the comedians were talking about CBS. And they said, CBS, the letter's right there. That's where you see BS. I think that was pitch perfect right there.
Not to mention it was on CBS, which I think is a bold move as well. I agree. There are more folks speaking out right now, and that's important. The past year, I think a lot of people in this community and us felt like we're on our own here, right? And you had that whole MAGA podcasting kind of ecosystem, and they were pushing all the crap. But one of the things I noticed is that there has been this massive shift. And if you look at all those podcasters, and I'm not going to go through their names right now, you know who they are. But now all of a sudden they're like, wait, what is this? I didn't vote for this. What the hell is going on here? I don't agree with this. This is everything that they warned about. And I'm like, yeah, duh. Okay. Like that's what we were trying to say. One of the interesting things I've seen also in the past, especially this escalation with ICE and these secret police forces and things, I've seen a lot of these kind of big kind of MAGA right-wing accounts who I'll just say do not think very kindly towards anybody in the center or on the left of the political spectrum, coming out and basically admitting fault here, which I think at least says something. Like I'll pull up this tweet that went viral. I'm not going to put the individual on blast, but I'll read you the tweet. It says here, and it says 1 million views, 32,000 likes. I grew up conditioned to mock the loony libs, a habit formed in the early Rush Limbaugh years. I no longer feel the urge. Those libs are now fighting for America's core principles, while the people who taught me to sneer at them have abandoned principles altogether. I think that's a lot coming from what's traditionally been a pro-MAGA account. And I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of posts just like that, because like Ben said, this isn't an issue of right versus left, of do you think this economic policy is better than this economic policy? This is going back to the founding of this country and the ideals set forth by the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Very basic ideas about how police are used, about how military forces are used, about search and seizures by law enforcement, about the right to free speech, about the bullying that somebody like Trump does against people and corporations who don't take his exact point of view. What we're seeing right now goes far beyond any particular policy. It is fundamentally un-American at every level. And so I think everybody out there who agrees, at least that 70% of people who agree with the principles of the United States, maybe not that 25, 30% that are just diehard MAGA and will do whatever Donald Trump says, but that 70% needs to come together, kind of put policy aside right now and understand that we are fighting for the life of democracy of the United States of America, or at least what the United States of America stands for. There's also an article in the Wall Street Journal that came out today that talked about how much these MAGA influencers are being paid to push certain positions, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars per tweet. If you ever think, how is this person tweeting something so horrific? How could they possibly? And the tweet they did 2 weeks ago is the complete opposite of the tweet they're doing now. How do their ideas just shift? They just do whatever Trump says. It's because they're literally getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by dark money and these secret groups in order to push their pro-fascist MAGA agendas. So much of this is astroturfed. It's all done via these algorithms that are run by people who are Trump adjacent, friendly with Trump, algorithms run by Elon Musk, the people at Meta who are people who are in the Trump administration. I mean, you name it. They are the people who are elevating this content to the top of your feed. And so it is no surprise that a lot of that content that's being elevated is content that supports Donald Trump. But when we actually go into the real world and you actually look at polling of the American people, it tells a much different story than you'd see on an app like an X or a Twitter or something like that. It just does. So that's all I want to say.
No, that's great. And look, I'm going to articulate this as best as I can here. I am always going to give my fellow American the benefit of the doubt, especially when you're looking at an ecosystem where there are being trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars poured into. in order to quite literally brainwash you, right? With this MAGA propaganda from the accounts that Brett had just sort of referenced there. That's just a pocket. Like that is the slimmest of slim folks who are making money off this MAGA grift right now to just literally pollute the media airwaves, whether it be on X or Threads or Facebook, you name the social media platform, it's out there intentionally trying to manipulate you, trying to manipulate your family, trying to manipulate your loved ones. And it's really disgusting. The one thing, though, that I will always just dig my heels into, and I'm not calling any, MAGA bro podcaster out or bro podcaster out specifically here, but this whole notion of I didn't vote for it. Yes, you did. You did vote for it. And now that a mirror is just being held up to what you voted for, you decided you didn't like it. And so, look, as I said, I will always give you the off-ramp because we need as big of a choir as we could get here to sing these pro-democracy ideals. But also don't lie to me in the same breath and be like, oh, this isn't what I voted for. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But now that
the other side of that, Jordy, are the people who are like, I voted for this when something horrific happens, when something that is just like, shouldn't even be like a debate, like an ICE officer murders a woman. You should be able to at least take a second and say that this is a horrific, horrifying situation, a very sad situation. And then you get the kind of MAGA bots on these apps going, I voted for this. Yes, this is exactly what I voted for. Yeah, that's kind of why we all hate you. That's exactly the reason.
We all saw what was on the video. We saw the murder of Renee Nicole Good. The video was crystal clear. And for the Trump regime to say Renee Nicole Good was a domestic terrorist who weaponized her vehicle, and they've defamed her posthumously in such heinous ways. They said that she's a lunatic woman, that she's a crazy lady. I mean, they threw everything, the misogynistic, the lies, the hate, at someone who they murdered. We saw her on the video say, I'm not mad at you, bro. She was doing a 3-point turn in order to get out because they were telling her to get out. She was not running over the officer. The ICE Gestapo, I should not call these people officers, I apologize, is holding up a phone, videotaping it with a gun in his hand, shooting her in the face 3 times. And I'm not going to play the clip, but over the weekend, Kristi Noem was smirking when she was showed a video by Jake Tapper where after she was murdered, the ICE guy, Jonathan Ross, says, fucking bitch. And then Tapper goes to Noem. So was that the ICE officer or was that the ICE agent saying that? And she goes, yeah, I think so. And she smirks. These are a group of sick, evil people. Evil at their core. Evil. My neighbor who watches the MeidasTouch podcast, I've said this before, pulled me aside, saw me walking my dog, and said, it really connected when you called the regime evil, because that's what they are. And I'm like, yeah, no, they are. I mean, they're bad people who want to use their existence on this planet to do bad things. Each one of these sickos is sicker than the next. Right? Whether it's a Kristi Noem or a Pete Hegseth. By the way, Senator Mark Kelly sued Pete Hegseth because Hegseth, this sicko, who's been engaged in war crimes and crimes against humanity, demoted Mark Kelly, a decorated veteran and astronaut. So Mark Kelly filed a federal lawsuit. At the same time, Minnesota filed a federal lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security. But all of these sickos, the Stephen Miller, the Caroline Levitt, that Trisha McLaughlin from DHS, RFK Jr., who spent the weekend attacking healthcare in Germany. Like, what are you doing? Attacking the healthcare system of Germany? And the Germans were like, who are you? Shut up. What are you doing? A guy who is so incredibly unhealthy. You can see how unhealthy is. It drips through his pores when he's out there speaking. And then we learned about all the other grotesque. I won't even go there with the RFK is disgusting. We all know that. So as we would say in the law, so stipulated. There's one more moment I wanted to talk about though at the CBS Golden Globe things though, when you had like Mark Ruffalo was being interviewed by a CBS guy from whatever the show, Extract, one of these stupid shows, and the host of the show was like, Mark, it's great to see you, man. The drinks are flowing. Everyone is a buzzing. You're having a great time. Walk us through what it means to be partying with so many celebrities here this evening. Right? That was the framing of the question. Like lunatic question, right? CBS, see the BS. And Ruffalo responded great. He's like, well, I would like to say that I'm happy, but we have a out of control authoritarian regime who's murdered Renee Nicole Good and who's out there terrorizing our communities. That's what we have happening right now. So I'm not really thinking about the drinks a-flowing, the parties that are happening, the celebrity glitz and glamour. I'm thinking about the people. And it's so important that we center our coverage in the people. The people need to have their voice heard. That's what we hope to accomplish at this network, to tell the stories from the people. I saw this on TikTok, and Brett and Jordy, you may have seen this as well in Midas Mighty. There's someone who did this great TikTok talking about, they go, I just don't understand how the MAGA followers don't realize that they're the bad guy in every one of the superhero books they grew up with, any of the stories that they grew up with, any of the movies. They have an arc of good guys and bad guys. Like, and this lady, she's incredible on the TikTok, and she's just like, so if your moral compass is so warped that you cheer on ICE terrorizing this, I can't interact with you. I just can't. I can't be friends with you. I can't pretend it's okay. It ain't okay. So we'll be right back after our last quick break of the show. When we come back, I want to talk about Trump going after Jerome Powell and the sharp response we've seen, including even from Republicans. I want to talk about the Trump DOJ also firing the number 2 in the Eastern District of Virginia, a guy by the name of McBride, because they're still trying to find people to go after Comey, and nobody wants to lose their license other than Lindsay Halligan, apparently. She's like, put me in, coach. Even though I'm not the lawyer, even though I'm not the real prosecutor of the Eastern District of Virginia, I'll keep saying I am. Donald Trump posting more about tariffs again. If you do business with Iran, you get a 25% tariff right now. What does it even mean? What does it even mean? The policy via social media post, right? Or Donald Trump posting, I hereby decree that on January 20th, I will be capping credit card fees at 10%. I will make such an announcement on January 20th. Okay, you're going to make a law? Because that's how you have to do it. So what happens when the credit card companies don't do it? They'll do it. No, they won't. No, they won't. Just like your fake Doge dividend checks, your fake tariff rebate checks. It's all BS. His view of affordability is just going to lie about it. He's going to say, I've decreed that Microsoft lower its data center costs. So ordered. That's what he posted today. We just, okay, well, what are you going to do a law? Are you going to do a law capping credit card? Are you going to go about it that way? Because I'll tell you what we could do to help affordability right here, right now. Extend the Affordable Care Act tax subsidies. Don't let those expire, because right now people's healthcare costs are skyrocketing right now because no one can afford healthcare without the subsidies. But no, Donald Trump wants to subsidize the oil companies in Venezuela when the only person who was right, I give him credit. It's the last time I'll give credit to an oil exec on the MeidasTouch Podcast. Mr. Exxon, because that's how Donald Trump was referring to the different execs. There's Mr. Chevron and Mr. Exxon. Mr. Exxon said it is uninvestable to be in Venezuela right now. He was right. How could you invest in there? They've got gangs going around kidnapping Americans or people who have any sympathy with America. That's what's happening. The State Department said, evacuate now if you're America, or if you have any sympathies to America, you have to hide right now from the regime that Trump has hoisted up.
By the way, this is why I was so clear on our episode immediately following the U.S. invasion of Venezuela to say, yes, I think everybody is happy to see Maduro out, but the regime is still in charge. So I am happy to see that people are happy that Maduro is gone. And I understand how much this means for Venezuelans. They need to be very careful right now because they are not out of the clear. They are under the same regime, just a different leader. And Donald Trump does not care about their safety. He does not care about their security. He does not care about democracy or their freedom. He just wants to extract the resources from the country. And he's okay to make these evil deals with evil people in order to do that and keep these people oppressed. And sure enough, these people now are in as much danger as they have ever been in. Any sort of celebration, any sort of dissent from that government right now is being suppressed. And you have the governments telling people to get the hell out of there because these collectivos are going around and they are harassing people and rounding people up. That's the reality of what's happening right now. That's the destabilization that we're seeing in Venezuela, just like we've seen in all of these other countries that the U.S. has tried to do similar things in the past. It's the exact reason why we've warned against this and why when everybody's like, oh, so you're not happy that Maduro's out? No, of course everyone's happy that Maduro is out, but they are still at risk and things are now as bad as they have ever been in that country. We need to be clear about these things and understand that Donald Trump is a fraud. And this is yet another aspect of the fraud that he's perpetrating, not just on the United States of America, but on Venezuela and the entire world. It's scam after scam after scam. And if you don't believe me, I've got a Trump phone to sell you.
We'll be right back after our last quick break of the show. A reminder, our network is expanding. You see it for yourself. You see our DC bureau. You see the partnerships that we're working on right now with on-the-ground reporting. You see the growth in our coverage. And I think the first 12 days of this month, there's been massive expansion. We want to keep that going. So if you can, become a member of our YouTube page right now and gift as many memberships as you can. Don't worry if you can't do it, but if you can, that's a major help. The other thing you can do is go to MeidasPlus.com, MeidasPlus.com. That's our Substack, and subscribe there. Let's take our last quick break of the show. We've got a lot to cover when we get back.
Ever wake up sweaty, freezing, or just uncomfortable? The temperature in your bedroom can make or break your sleep. That's why I switched to Miracle Made sheets. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long. Miracle Made sheets feel just as good, if not better, than sheets you'd find at a 5-star hotel, but without the steep price tag. Smooth, breathable, and ridiculously comfortable. Thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, Miracle Made sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than regular sheets. That means fewer odors, fewer wash cycles, and way less laundry. All that hidden bacteria in regular sheets, it can clog your pores and cause breakouts. Miracle Made's antibacterial design helps you sleep cleaner and clearer night after night. Miracle Made sheets are crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature. Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, it doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use the promo code Meidas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make for an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Meidas, code Meidas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode. Every business is asking the same question. How do we make AI work for us? The possibilities are endless, and guessing is too risky. But sitting on the sidelines is not an option, because one thing is almost certain, your competitors are already making their move. No more waiting. With NetSuite by Oracle, you can put AI to work today. NetSuite is the #1 AI cloud ERP, trusted by over 43,000 businesses. It's a unified suite that brings your financials, inventory, commerce, HR, and CRM into a single source of truth. That connected data is what makes your AI smarter. So it doesn't just guess, it knows. It intelligently automates routine tasks, delivers actionable insights, helps you cut costs and make fast AI-powered decisions with confidence. You've got total flexibility. Now with NetSuite AI Connector, you can use the AI of your choice to connect to actual business data and ask every question you ever had, from key customers to cash on hand to inventory trends, plus automate those tiresome manual processes. Let's see your competitor do that. This isn't another bolted-on tool. It's AI built into the system that runs your business. Whether your company earns millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you stay ahead of the pack. If I needed this product, it's what I would use. Right now, get our free business guide, Demystifying AI, at netsuite.com/Midas. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/Midas, netsuite.com/Midas. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next?
You know, you look at Donald Trump's post from a few hours ago where he just says something which in theory, I guess, sounds good, but without any thinking, planning. So he goes, effective immediately, any country doing business with Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America. This order is final and conclusive. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, within seconds of that post, our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, responded right away. So is Trump going to terminate his personal business deals with the UAE worth a total of $500 million? And I think it's probably worth more than that. It's probably in the billions. They are Iran's second largest trading partner. What about the advanced chips that we just agreed to sell them? Are we still selling them a $14 billion Boeing package of 787s? So what are we doing there? Also, as Ron writes, so a new 25% tariff on China and India, effective immediately? When do these new tariffs start getting collected? This is on all the goods from those countries immediately. What about the limited trade deal we just made with China? Oh, that's over now, or is this just more BS? Because China trades with Iran, right? And India trades with Iran. So we're doing another 25% tariff on top of that. You know, and ultimately, the courts, the market at this point, large corporations, they go, you know, this is just what he says. He just says these things. And they almost discount his craziness relative to his backing out of the threats. And they figure, we'll just get through this at some point in time. That's not always going to hold. That's assuming a lot. And I mean, I've given this example with Trump's cover-up of the Epstein files, and I'll address it here because I don't want to ever not do an episode where I don't mention that the government right now is covering up the largest child sex trafficking ring in the world history right now. Blatantly covering up. That the DOJ is now a racketeering criminal enterprise involved in the cover-up of sex trafficking. It's just a fact. You call them a regime because that's a fact. You call them terrorists because that's a fact. And you call up the fact that they are engaged in a racketeering enterprise to cover up a sex trafficking. Fact. It's not hyperbolic, right? I'll get back to Epstein in a moment, but I saw when the mayor of Minneapolis was being interviewed, all these corporate media were like, but do you bear responsibility for saying that that what took place with Renee Nicole Good was a reckless murder by an out-of-control ICE officer? And then the mayor would be like, I mean, I said that it was caused by a reckless, out of control ICE officer because we saw the video and that's what happened. And you're upset that I use the F word when there are people getting killed by this regime. Just wanted to point that out. But just think about it like this. Donald Trump has said that Epstein was a hoax and that the FBI was involved in this hoax and James Comey was involved in the hoax and all of these people were involved in the hoax, and Maureen Comey, who was the lead prosecutor, her dad's James Comey, and they were in on a hoax. In any normal time, imagine former President Obama said, I've got inside information about a criminal case. I know from the FBI that what took place at that trial is a hoax. 100% of the time, that criminal defendant would cite the President of the United States words, because words should have meaning. And the president's words should be the most meaningful, not the least meaningful. And that criminal defendant would get a new trial if the president of the United States said that they found actual fraud or a hoax. Now, it's a good thing that Ghislaine Maxwell will almost certainly not get a new trial. But the way she won't is that ultimately the DOJ will write in their paperwork to the judge, you can't really, he didn't really mean it like that. That's not what he meant. He meant it this way. And ultimately, the federal judges will not value Donald Trump's words, not because they're appointed by Democrats, because this is equal for Republican judges and Democrat judges, because his words don't have meaning. The President of the United States words don't have meaning or have such ambiguity or are so clouded in this trolling nonsense that people don't. And the reality is, though, is that you can't discount it, though, either. And when he's out there saying he's going to invade Greenland and he wants to acquire it and he compares Greenland to Venezuela and Cuba, there's only a certain amount of time where you could be like, that's just Trump being Trump. He says these things. Hey, no. And here's the thing, like Trump saying he's going to tariff any country that does business. So are you tariffing China? Right? If your words are meaningful, that should happen right away. And there should be tariffs against the United Arab Emirates, and you should cancel your deals, your family deals, and America's deals, and all the semiconductor chip deals. Or is this just a bogus post? The same way as post about capping credit card interest at 10%, just a lie. There's no law. It's not going to be enforced. It ain't happening. Doge dividend checks. Yeah, right. Doge increased federal spending, didn't decrease federal spending. The tariff rebate checks. Oh, the way we'll change healthcare is we'll give people the money and then they can negotiate themselves with the insurance companies. Brett and Jordy, it's just all BS after BS. And, did you see it was Senator Marshall, right, Brett? Senator Marshall, Republican, who went on some of the shows. And he was asked about Donald Trump's threats to criminally prosecute Powell. And they go, I don't think he really meant that. He was trolling. That was one big troll. Do we have that clip?
Yeah, let me look for that clip. But the whole trolling argument to me, really is so frustrating because you could write off anything the guy says as trolling, And at what point do you not realize that there may be an element of trolling to the things that Donald Trump does, but that there's also a tangible effect and impact of Donald Trump's words and actions on people that go far beyond trolling and are affecting people's lives in an incredibly negative way every single day. I'll keep looking for the clip, but we got it somewhere. Here it is. Let me play this.
Is there really a reason for an investigation? Because, a lot of people are looking at this and saying, well, wait a second. We know President Trump does not like Jay Powell, and we know that he's calling him stupid and that he hasn't cut rates fast enough. So is this political, or did Jay Powell break the law and mislead or lie to the Senate Banking Committee? And you say?
Well, Maria, we'll let the system play through here. I think there's other issues that we should be focused on. I think this is the president throwing out one more, maybe he's even almost trolling here as well. We got bigger issues to go after than this one, though.
I mean, he's sending criminal subpoenas to the Federal Reserve and to Jerome Powell, and he's saying he wants them criminally prosecuted. Jerome Powell has to hire a lawyer now. Jerome Powell now has to kind of enter the political arena in a way that he never does, because he plays everything very by the book and really just, views his job as what it is, as doing what's best for the economy. You have Donald Trump doing this, which could have catastrophic effects on the economy. I guess, if people took him seriously and if you were to actually move forward with this. We've seen the impacts of what happens in tin pot dictatorships throughout the world when they get rid of their person who's in charge of monetary policy and put in a lackey in order to artificially lower interest rates. Spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. You think inflation was bad a few years ago? You ain't got shit on that inflation when you're going to see 30%, 40%, 60%, 80% inflation if Donald Trump does something like that. It is completely reckless. And this trolling argument is just another way that they try to get out of and squirm out of actually having to answer the questions as to what Donald Trump is doing. And what I think the Trump administration is doing right now, this Department of Justice, personally, I believe that it is criminal. I believe the Department of Justice right now is a criminal entity. I believe they are engaging in crimes every single day. Of course, they're not going to prosecute themselves. That's not going to happen. But I do believe that the people in this administration, in this Department of Justice, can be held criminally liable and can be criminally prosecuted by future administrations. I think over the Epstein files, absolutely what we're seeing here. Less than 1% of the Epstein files have been released. All of them were supposed to be released in December. Every last one. Less than 1% have been released, and they keep stonewalling and they keep making up excuses as to why the files aren't coming. They are clearly covering up there for Donald Trump. And all of these bullshit prosecutions, whether it's against Letitia James or James Comey or Jerome Powell, I think Lisa Murkowski actually used the right word, Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski, when she said what I believe the Department of Justice is engaged in right now is coercion. And I completely agree. I think this is criminal coercion. She says that Congress needs to investigate the Department of Justice. I don't think we're going to see this Congress investigate the Department of Justice anytime soon. If Congress flips in the coming elections, I think you will see Democrats start those investigations. But what we really need down the road are criminal investigations by a future Department of Justice and prosecutions against these officials, because we need to set an example that none of this could ever happen again. And I'm not here to advocate for any particular political party or candidate, but I will tell you that any candidate out there that does promise to go after these people in no uncertain terms and prosecute them and hold them accountable for all of the crimes that they committed, for all of the wrongs that they have done, for all the abuse that they have inflicted on the American people, that will be the individual who gets my vote personally.
Brett, where is your sense of humor? He is just simply trolling. I know we played that clip a little bit ago, but what is that shtick Maria even does on Fox? I don't watch her program, so I very rarely see that. But that was like just comical in that delivery, but it's scary in the sense of what a grip that has on the American people. And then going back to Powell here, what I really respect, and it's something that we say here a lot, is you have to control the narrative and you have to dictate the narrative, especially when your narrative is in truth, is in facts. When the narrative is on your side, you have to be willing to just get in front of a camera and lay it out for the American people of what is going on. So when the criminal investigation was announced into Powell, what I really appreciated with him is that he jumped in front of a camera right away and got a video out right away so he could, in very clear terms, explain why it was all BS. And that's the type of messaging that really breaks through there. It is before you can even let Fox News initiate the talking points to the MAGA base, before Elon could hype up all of these people on X and whatnot, you have to get out there and control the damn narrative, especially when the facts, the truth, and just the American people are on your side. So shout out to Powell for doing that.
Great point. I want to leave us with this, right? Contrast everything we showed you with what's happening in New York City right now. And I'm specifically, though, talking about with Mayor Mamdani. And within the first 8 days, And I had Mayor Mamdani on where I interviewed him on day 8 when he and Governor Hochul announced a step closer to universal child care. And they were extending child care to hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers right away. And Mamdani got that commitment from Governor Hochul, which no one thought would be possible for a long time. It happened in 8 days. And every day you see Mayor Mamdani out there with the people, standing side by side with New Yorkers, fighting for them. Does that mean he's going to be perfect? No. Does it mean that he'll never make mistakes? Of course not. Does it mean he'll accomplish everything? No, but he set an ambitious agenda and he's centered what he's doing around the people, not for the oligarchs and the bullies. And I'll just show you him how he was greeted earlier today. And this is a testament to how people in New York feel about him. When you actually feel respect for a leader, a political leader, because they're fighting for you. Watch. Powerful.
For the audio listeners, that was not a rock concert. That was not a Taylor Swift concert with the applause. That was Mayor Mamdani walking the streets of New York and joining the picket line with nurses. And I think you could even just set aside all political views, right? Maybe you support the strike that the nurses are doing. Maybe you don't support the strike. But it's hard not to look at that and see that this is somebody who's actually doing things for the people and that the people are responding in a positive reason. These are much different than the crowds that you see at Trump rallies and that are so full of vitriol and hate and anger. It's just the complete opposite of that. There's a lightness there, right? There is a happiness there. There's a passion. There's an emotion and a positive emotion that is such like an antidote to the toxic, polluted political environment that we have today. And Ben, that's why I love that we're kind of ending with that clip kind of right there, because it really shows you what's possible. Right? When you set aside all the BS, when you set aside the hate, when you set aside the vitriol, and you actually just focus on how are we going to help people, what do the people want, and what are people looking for out of leaders? And people are looking for leaders who are going to serve them. And there are always going to be those politicians out there and those political figures out there who try to prey upon your hate, who try to make you fearful, who try to make you scared, who try to scapegoat and say your problems are all because of the Jews or the Somalis or this group or that group, the gays. You saw Donald Trump say something today that he was bashing the civil rights movement. And Donald Trump said, yeah, the civil rights movement was actually way too mean to white people. It was actually a disgrace for what they did to white people during the civil rights movement, Trump said earlier today. You'll see the politicians who do that. And that hate is an incredibly potent force. And you've seen how it's been able to affect our country and this world and countries throughout history and take people into a very dark place. But then you see images like that of Mamdani walking through New York City, and you see the excitement, you see the positivity, and you remember the feeling that people felt during the Obama administration. And you remember that hope is an equally potent, if not more potent, emotion, feeling than hate can ever be. And so I think we need to continue to work to inspire each other and not be just so sucked in by all the hatred that's out there. How can we elevate each other? How can we continue to spread hope and positivity? And in doing so, hold the people who spread that hate, spread that vitriol, and continue to attack and assault the American people every day. Hold those people to account.
Covered a lot on this episode of the MeidasTouch podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for fighting for our democracy each and every day, for holding the line, for sharing the videos that we put out there to document what's taking place. We try to just give you the receipts, the facts, Occasionally, I'll get pretty angry and worked up on some of these videos, but I try to keep a steady voice. Sometimes with these images, it's not all that easy. But we appreciate the work that you do. It's part of this community, for this country, for the world, for democracy, for empathy, for love, for hope. And I want to thank everybody who is a member of this YouTube channel. You click that join button, gift memberships to as many people as you can. That helps grow this network. And another thing you can do right now is just subscribe to our Substack. There's a lot of great member features that you can access. There's exclusive podcasts for our members. There's additional access to some of the write-ups by our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski. But most importantly, it helps expand our network and do the things like build out a DC bureau and help us make these partnerships and grow in ways that are, I think you're already seeing massive growth internationally and here in the United States. Hired a lot more people, and we've increased our capabilities, and that's thanks to you. So we're grateful for you. So go to MeidasPlus.com or become a member of our YouTube page right here. So thank you all very much. My doggies are saying in the background.
Dogs are calling. They're saying, wrap it up.
Dogs are saying it's time to go as well.
It's like the Oscars music, when you're talking too long. They're like, wrap it up.
Taquito and Chiquito are saying, wrap it up. Wrap it up, Ben. I will. Thank you, everybody, from the bottom of my heart. We appreciate you. Jordy, take us out.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty!
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.